The 2022 Palmenhaus affair. The Austrian Epstein-style story you never heard of, in which Europe is desperately covering up.
Hello, my name is Lioris Christoph. I am the author of the books The Palmenhaus Scandal 2022 and the Austrian Criminal System. I am not suicidal, and if something happens to me, it's the Austrian Criminal and Crooked WEF government behind it. In 2022, I accidentally exposed a story with lots of similarities to the Epstein story, happening all in Austria and Europe. I knew a Hungarian woman who desperately sought help, claiming she was victim since her 16 from an Albanian Austrian sex trafficking network. Involved in satanic extortion sex parties, extorting each other with hidden cameras, narcotics trade, trafficking Eastern European girls, and much more criminal activities. When I reported this to several European authorities, alongside lots of evidence this woman had sent, nobody was eager to investigate. And a month after I made these accusations, the criminals started to threatening me and my family to withdraw my testimony because they were claimed to be protected by high-ranking Austrian officials who would make me disappear if I didn't withdraw my testimonies, and this was all recorded as evidence and handed in to police. And still, 1 month later, 3 Austrian judges and a taxpayer-funded NGO set up a proven fake trial trying to make me disappear, all despite the evidence the EU authorities refuses to investigate. Does the Austrian government work together with pedo sex trafficking gangsters, spending taxpayers' money to cover up a pedo sex extorting scandal like Epstein and Diddy? Who, that man, me, claims now the Austrian judges knew that he was innocent, that his illegal arrest and media circus was staged with Austrian taxpayers' money to cover up a sick satanic pedo sex trafficking and extorting scandal in Austria, which was going on for over a decade, and which he exposed officially more than a month before his strange arrest to the Austrian and European police forces. Fact 3. It's against the European and Austrian law to arrest someone without evidence, solely on an accusation. There was no evidence for any of the accusations in European Arrest Warrant 27 ST90/22S, and based solely on the accusations of the alleged victim, which is illegal, of which the judges would have known that they were impossible even if they had just a little bit investigated this case, as is their job. SIS-2 data and COVID tracking information proved all allegations impossible. Fact 4. The men tried to warn officers, judges, and prison staff of his innocence since his arrest. Nobody wanted to listen, read his letters to the judge in pleading to investigate, his demand for a lawyer, and to respect his human rights. He was locked in solitude in a dungeon without a lawyer or contact to his consulate. Fact number 5. The judges who issued European Arrest Warrant 27 ST90/22S committed several times perjury by claiming they investigated the allegations and had lots of evidence, proving I was guilty supposedly. The truth is, there was no evidence, and even the alleged victim had several times warned the allegations were lied under threat of her pimps. She tried desperately to notify the police and judges of this, which all
Hallo? Grüß Gott, haben Sie mich zugemacht oder weiß ich nicht.
Leistungskorrekt. Können Sie nichts mehr machen.
Eine falsche Straße.
Normale
Was ignored. She wrote declarations. She was working together with my lawyers trying to free me, while the lawyer of the NGO in her name was suing me, and the NGO was clearly aware I was innocent also. Austria again is trying to sue me with illegal lawsuits to silence because I am demanding investigation into what happened in 2022. In the meanwhile, one Supreme Judge, who was under investigation for doing exactly these things, and his wife was the judge who ordered the head of the Justice Department that ordered my arrest, the Pilnacek case in Austria. The charges and lawsuit against me were funded by a taxpayer-funded NGO, Gewaltschutzcentrum, who clearly knew I was innocent, being several times warned by the victim, all recorded on tape, and handed in to the judges. Still, they refused to drop the lawsuit against me with a high-priced lawyer. Although supposedly this NGO is there to protect women against abuse and human traffickers, they were funding knowingly a lawsuit against a Belgian whistleblower who exposed horrible abuse happening in Austria against trafficked women. And they were sending this woman together with other ones back to the pimps who were abusing them and forcing them into prostitution since they're 16. All again proven in their own documents, and all funded with Austrian taxpayer money. And I refer to the rape allegations that this woman was forced to make against me, because there she tried to hint to police what was really going on. And you could clearly understand that she was describing the Albanian man next to her as being the man bringing her from age 16 to Austria and putting her to work in prostitution. Strangely that the judges didn't read this part of the story, but issued on this story an arrest warrant against the man who was trying to help her.
Watch Blood Cult and wonder why this is being censored. Watch this documentary if you want to know to who you pay taxes. Where are the fact checkers?
The Pilnacek case is tied directly to this case and have similar allegations of corruption and fake accusations against political adversaries. His wife, Caroline L., was also head of the Court of Graz, where this all happened in 2022. And she got caught destroying evidence in 2023, exactly like I accused these judges of doing. After the mysterious death of her husband, although the Minister of Justice in Austria claims they don't do such things in Graz, and there isn't any evidence of such things in my case. But they get then caught doing this exact same thing, and this is even reported in the media. Fact 21. Pilnacek was recorded in 2023 that he was tired to do illegal favors, abuse justice, and falsely indict people on demand of Austrian elites, politicians. Shortly before his suspicious death, which nobody wants to investigate neither. And judges are openly caught destroying evidence of this mysterious death and refusing to do an autopsy even.
Knalleffekt in der ÖVP. Geheime Tonbandaufnahmen des verstorbenen Ex-Sektionschefes Christian Pilnacek sind aufgetaucht. Über Umwege landeten Inhalte bei der Krone, dem ORF und anderen Medien. In einem Nobellokal in der Wiener Innenstadt saß Christian Pilnacek mit guten Bekannten, redete über vieles, dann über die Politik. Über die ÖVP, zu der der einst mächtigste Justizbeamte der Republik ein Naheverhältnis gehabt haben soll. Was jedoch Pilnacek an diesem Abend sagt, klingt, als habe der 60-Jährige mit der Partei gebrochen.
And 3 witnesses tied to this case all died mysteriously in the last 3 years. Ilona K., witness and neighbor, was never interviewed by police, although she took care of the house where allegedly this 9-month abduction and rape took place. And she could also undisputed testify the allegations were again impossible. And also over the pedo gangsters from Austria attacking and threatening me and my family when we were in holiday there. She mysteriously committed suicide and was found down a water well. Fact 25. Gerard P., also witness and person of trust to my 23 Augustus 2022 testimonies in Austria against the Palmenhaus sex trafficking pedo network, died in the aftermath of this case mysteriously. Fact 26. Zolti C., neighbor, witness, also living in Hungary in this village, and also dated another Palmenhaus employee, and was registered also as witness of this case, died of a heart failure in the afterspam of this case. Seeing all the mysterious deaths and heart attacks surrounding this case, you would almost think the intel agencies have a gun that can cause heart attacks to eliminate people without evidence. And I am censored with military-grade software. So I demand the release of the Epstein files, which President Trump gladly did, but let's also release all the other cases similar as Epstein, because there are a lot worldwide, and it has been enough.
Something wrong in our parliament when I'm attacking a Labour MP who I believe is a paedophile, and I'm getting flack from my own party. There's something wrong.
How many of the MPs would you say in Parliament do you think would be of that?
I've no idea. I've no idea, but we certainly had a bad record round here. I'm thinking about in Leicester. I mean, Jana. Paedophilia it's been rampant in Leicester. I don't know that we had the Lord Jana case. He had been the MP there. Remember?
Yes,
Greville
yes,
Jana.
yes.
Died mysteriously of dementia just before his hearing of facts.
And how many other people would there have been connected?
You know, I've passed details of people who are engaged in child trafficking into the UK. Names of all those. They've gone to the government. Nobody wants to act. Nobody wants to act about it.
And, you know, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so you know, in general, you always have to be careful.
dangerous subversive elite has managed to infiltrate the highest levels of Western institutions and governments to implement the criminal plan of the Agenda 2030. In many self-proclaimed democratic states, the voices denouncing this global coup are being silenced through censorship, intimidation, psychiatrization, and even arrest. Among the victims of the totalitarian regime quietly establishing itself in Europe, Canada, Australia, and other vassal nations of the United Nations, NATO, World Health Organization, and World Economic Forum, all private entities funded by the same powers, is lawyer Rainer Fulmich, unjustly imprisoned and still awaiting for a fair trial. His crime is having dared to speak the truth in a world of criminal lies. I call on Catholics and all people of goodwill to raise their voices in defense of those persecuted by the globalist regime. It is not Attorney Fulmich who should be in prison, but those who committed the greatest crime ever against humanity: Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, Ursula von der Leyen, Albert Bourla, and all their accomplices and emissaries, especially those in institutional positions. Free Rainer Fulmich.
Like Virginia Jeffrey said, they can't kill us all, and we will keep demanding investigation. You have a Dutch politician, Gideon van Meijeren. He also is trying to get investigation into these cases, which is strangely all refused even by the Dutch government.
Vandaag is hier in de Tweede Kamer iets gebeurd dat zo onvoorstelbaar is dat ik het nog steeds aan het verwerken ben. Er kwam een motie van mijn instemming voor een onafhankelijk onderzoek naar georganiseerd sadistisch misbruik. En de reden voor die motie is dat de commissie Hendricks, die eerder onderzoek heeft verricht naar dit vreselijke fenomeen, onder de totale controle stond van het ministerie van Justitie en de kern van de zaak in de doofpot heeft gestopt.
I suggest everybody to watch the KLA documentary 1024 Survivors of Satanic Rituals.
Watch Blood Cult and wonder why this is being censored. Watch this documentary if you want to know to who you pay taxes. Where are the fact checkers?
It's a very interesting documentary going from Ukraine.
People take it on, some people don't, because it's extremely dangerous. Okay, so certain journalists brought some information to me but wouldn't give me the intelligence behind it, and it was regards to an operation that was involving an agency in the UK, seemingly MI6, an operative from there, an operative from the Foreign Office, and also some paratroopers that were involved that worked in an organisation in the UK. However, when we looked into those people, first of all, we realised that 10 years ago, none of them had got any money at all, and then now they've all got organisations and quite high ranking within companies. They also have huge links to UK USAID and social services and websites out in Ukraine and the rebuild of Ukraine, because the organisation in the UK not only is a charity, but it's involved with further organisations that possibly one of the people on the list has contacts within NATO.
What sort of evidence do you have to back up all this?
The evidence is with the undercover operative, as I say, which I've put you on to. That is how we all keep ourselves safe, because he is the person that when he decided to work undercover for many years, he got all this intelligence, which included social services, the police, certain people in MI6 and other organisations, Foreign Office. You've got to understand, he then had to get away because he knew his life was in danger, because one other person had already been blown up and his car gets blown up. Luckily for him, it's all online, by the way, you can see this with the Daily Mail. That operative has actually been blown up, but he was saved, thank God. It was only his arm and a small injury.
In Ukraine itself and in the countries of the European Union, Ukrainian children are practically unprotected and regularly become victims of crimes of child trafficking, organ harvesting, pedophile networks and other sexual prostitution gangs and predators. From my source in Ukraine, I have learned that there is a secret, powerful multi-level organization operating in the country that searches and selects children, prepares documents legalizing their transportation abroad, for example, birth certificate and passport, and then sends them to Great Britain, where they become victims of influential pedophiles. At the top of his powerful criminal organization of child trafficking is the Security Service of Ukraine. They directly organize all of the criminal schemes for the adoption and removal of Ukrainian children abroad. Borisov Sergei was once an employee of the SBU, worked in the investigative units of the main directorate of the SBU in Kiev. In May 2020, he was detained for organizing a criminal group that was engaged in kidnapping entrepreneurs for ransom and seizing their property and financial assets. The group consisted of former and current police officers. The scandal surrounding the detention of werewolves in uniform was loud. The criminals were charged with more than 5 episodes of kidnappings, as well as other particularly dangerous crimes. This story has been on the front page of Ukrainian media
till Haiti, with all kinds of similar stories. Must watch. Now they try to sue me to silence with an illegal slap lawsuit over this recording, which they refuse to investigate still in Austria. And they claim I don't have publishing rights because the speaker of the NGO didn't give me explicit permission to publish the recording. Although her NGO, in a flare of anger on the phone, said I could publish the recording, and also the second speaker, the woman, gave me permission to publish and to seek justice. Because already 3 years I am claiming the Austrian government is working together with these criminals. And one of the pieces of evidence that we ask is a video footage of a hearing of 15 October 2022, where a very famous judge is not seen doing his honest work, no, but he is rigging the Justice Department, trying to frame me innocently, putting me in justice, and committing perjury over a Austrian investigation, a police investigation, being led by his own police officers, with lots of evidence into a pedophile brothel, network of brothels, where the judge is committing perjury about. Now I have papers proving this hearing was videotaped, but for some reason the Austrian government is refusing to release this footage. And also they are trying desperately to have this entire case classified as top secret. Now I didn't have a contract to keep this all top secret. And after what these people did to me, I want answers. So I support all the Epstein victims and all the victims of similar cases, that finally these crooks are being held accountable for everything that they did.
My name is Julia Bryant and I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago. I am not suicidal and I never ever will be. I also do not do any drugs. I met Epstein when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. We all know about the Clinton body count. Another concerning fact is that one of the main women, a very brave angel, Carolyn, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead 6 months ago. It wasn't in the media until a few days ago. The only reason it was put in the media was because of a very, very brave Epstein victim. She doesn't want to be named. But there are other Epstein victims who've also died suspiciously. Carolyn was a beautiful, amazing, brave woman who planned a life on a chicken farm with her family. Instead, she was found dead in a hotel room. I want to speak out for safety and for other victims because it's very frightening when the media won't cover any of the victims' stories. A lot of my story hasn't been told in the media, and it's the same with a lot of other victims. And we actually all feel quite frightened with everything that's been going on. And as we know, this is not the first suspicious death related to the evil Max Weil empire. They also used to run the media. So maybe that's why victim stories are not being told to the media, and the victims of Epstein feel very frightened. Please all pray for Carolyn's family. And thank you for listening.
And he says that the stuff Epstein used to say about genetics freaked him out because it sounded like Nazi eugenics talk. All right, so one Jew saying about the other Jew, like this shit he used to talk about genetics sounded like the Nazis to me. I don't know what he was up to, but it didn't sound good. And it was about eugenics, creating like using genetic engineering. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein funded the research that led to CRISPR.
I suffered so much pain.
So much pain.
So much pain.
I suffered so much pain. I was 14 years old.
I was 16 years old.
I was 16.
17.
14 years old.
This is me.
This was me.
This is me.
When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.